Hey, you ready to watch a very comprehensive 10-minute long video comparing Apple and Wacom products? Good, let's jump into it then. Alright, first I want to go over some of the options that you have to choose from. It's hard to talk about these two things, Wacom and Apple, as if you're comparing A and B. Wacom has so many different products that all do very similar things, and Apple has a similar problem, but not to the same degree. I use an Apple Pencil and an iPad Pro using Procreate. But if you don't have an Apple Pencil, you could also use an Adobe Pixel Stylus. And if you use the Adobe Pixel Stylus, you could use that with any iPad that has Bluetooth 4.0, meaning iPad 3rd generation, iPad 4th generation, iPad mini, iPad mini 2, iPad mini 3, iPad Air, or iPad Air 2. So if you think the variability of stylus and tablet combinations of Apple products is annoying, just wait until you're looking for the perfect match for your own style of Wacom. They have so many products, and shopping around for a new or used tablet on their site is really difficult. I'll get into that later. But you have their pen computers, which are basically just Cintiqs that have their own operating system on them. You have their pen displays, which are Cintiqs, and if you don't know what a Cintiq is, it's basically Wacom's tablet with a screen on it, and you draw on the screen, and you connect your Cintiq to a computer or to a laptop. So it's not extremely very mobile. You also have their pen tablets, which are sort of bottom of the line. They just kind of replace a mouse, but you don't have a screen to go with it. And they also have this cool thing called smart pads, which I haven't used before, but it looks like they're just a pad of notebook paper that you draw on, and you press a button and it's magically on your computer as a vector file, which is pretty cool. So before getting into the features that Wacom and Apple have across their products, I'd like to take a short minute to discuss the wide array of prices that we'll be dealing with to see where you could find the most bang for your buck. First, we'll start with the lower end products, which are all $100 to $200. These are all Wacom based and generally simple mouse replacement tools. They work great as an introduction to Wacom's pens and pressure sensitivity. The next rung up is basically every iPad pencil and every iPad Adobe Pixel combination we could shoot for. On the low end, we can get an older iPad off of eBay with an Adobe Pixel for about $175. Then you can get the next generation off of Amazon for $220 or so. With that, you'll find a full processing machine with a screen to draw on, whereas in the same category of pricing, Wacom only has these blank slates that are just kind of mouse replacement products. In fact, it's not until $800 that Wacom offers a similar deal to the $220 iPad with Adobe Pixel. And even still, it's just a screen, not a computer with an operating system on it. So just for a second monitor that you can draw on, Wacom is asking for about $800 to $1,000. We have an older Cintiq companion at $1,300, which is a hefty price, but the operating system is included. Finally, at the top of the list, we have the $1,500 and the $2,100 Wacom MobileStudio Pro. This is great for working on the go and working in something that's a little bit more intense than just Photoshop. This is a full operating system that would rival your MacBook or your Microsoft Surface or something like that. So as you can see, you have a lot of options to choose from. If you're just venturing into this world for the first time and you don't have that much money to spend, I'd suggest the Bamboo or Intuos series. If you have the cash though, and if you really want a great experience, I think your choices are limited to two options. The $900 iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil, and the cheapest Wacom, which is the $1,300 MobileStudio Pro. And there's no better way to segue into this, so here it is. Good luck buying it from Wacom. It's out of stock, which is a situation you're likely going to keep running into. A little backstory, I have two adorable cats, and they love to chew on wires. I've tried every trick in the book until we wound up covering all of our wires with these weird casings. But between 2009 and 2011, I must have gone through 4 3-in-1 Cintiq cables, which was a pain, because Wacom's site says they sell these, but they don't sell these, and neither did Amazon. I had to cross my fingers and hope that eBay would have them. And in one notable case, I had to have a friend in Australia buy the cables for me from Wacom's Australian site, then ship the cables to me. Now, to confirm that I'm not insane, I started a Google spreadsheet documenting how many times Wacom's own site has run out of stock. This painstaking process is linked in the video description, and it confirmed my sanity. 40% of their pen computers and 40% of their pen tablets are out of stock. 42% of their cables are out of stock. Now that's like going to Apple's website and seeing that an iPad or a charging cable just wasn't available. You couldn't buy it. So the availability for Apple products makes shopping a breeze compared to Wacom's. I'm just going to say Wacom's is a nightmare. It's a nightmare of an experience trying to get their products. All right, now let's get into some of the technical specifics. If Apple blows Wacom out of the water when it comes to availability, it's without question that Wacom destroys Apple when it comes to the technology of the Mobile Studio Pro. Well, kind of. I could get into the really specific stuff like the CPU and the memory of the iPad Pro and the Mobile Studio Pro here, and I drew up a couple tables doing just that. But it's not really worth it. The purpose of the two products are so wildly different, it's almost not really fair to compare the two, though Wacom would win. So let's get into the technical stuff, but not too technical. The actual screen for the Mobile Studio Pro, it's a little bit more comfortable to draw on. Many artists like this toothy grip they feel when they're drawing on it. Whereas with the iPad Pro, it feels kind of like you're gliding on ice or something, which a lot of artists don't really like. That being said, there are many complaints with the Mobile Studio Pro having this annoying parallax between the stylus and the screen. As far as pressure sensitivity, you'll see Wacom boast about it a lot, which is something completely missing from Apple's marketing. I struggled with finding any information on pressure sensitivity levels, which was concerning until I realized, who cares? Wacom's currently boasting about having 8,192 levels, but I'd personally never notice if it had 8,100, 7,000, or even 1,000 levels. Would you notice? In 2018, pressure sensitivity levels seems kind of old hat to be bragging about. Another plus in the iPad column is that there are no driver issues. You never have to worry about updating any drivers or your software ever being out of date. You will have to update your apps, but that's a very minor annoyance, and it's something that can be turned on automatically or totally ignored if you feel like it. The touch gestures and the palm rejection of the Mobile Studio Pro is lacking, and it's broken so much that many people wind up just turning it off. Whereas the touch gestures and the palm rejection for the iPad Pro are amazing. They totally knock it out of the park. You get nothing but rave reviews. I love it. I take advantage of it almost every day. The real way that the Mobile Studio Pro wins this is that you could use any desktop application that you want. The iPad Pro has some amazing apps like Procreate where you could draw up anything you really want and then export it over to your computer to finish it up. Alternatively, there is some vectoring and some web designing apps that Adobe has and some other independent companies have made, but with a Mobile Studio Pro, you could use any desktop program that you want, which is a real no-brain kind of a winner here. Many people suggest that with an iPad Pro, you could use AstroPad as a workaround to this. AstroPad is an app that you load up on both your iPad and your MacBook, and it'll act as a mirror to your MacBook screen, essentially making it sort of like a Cintiq. Though, as you can see from my personal experience here, I find the solution to be, well, not really a solution. It can be kind of weird to calibrate, and the lag is so bad that I'm not sure why you'd even really want to try it, especially if your computer is right beside you anyway. So in this category, I'd say it's almost kind of a tie between the iPad Pro and the Mobile Studio Pro, though Mobile Studio Pro kind of wins. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to talk about is portability. Firstly, the battery. The iPad takes about 4 hours to get a full charge. This is compared to the Mobile Studio Pro's 4 to 6 hours. Likewise, Mobile Studio Pro's battery life will live up to about 4 hours, whereas the iPad Pro gets 9 to 10 hours. Users have also reported the Mobile Studio Pro becoming very hot and the fans very loud. Both of these concerns are total non-issues for iPad users. The Mobile Studio Pro has a comparatively bulky power cable to the iPad charging cables, and the whole unit weighs 3.1 pounds while the iPad Pro weighs just under a pound. I personally made the switch from Wacom products to Apple products because of how portable iPads are. I had a Cintiq for years, and everywhere I went, I had to carry around these 3 massively awkward cables. It wasn't portable, and I got laughed at a lot. All these drawbacks to the Mobile Studio Pro add up to this bulky unit you can't easily put into the backpack, and you can't easily bust it out on a plane or a bus without people looking at you kind of weird. It's just not really that portable and will most likely wind up stationary beside your home computer. Alright, the final verdict. In my opinion, if you don't have a professional work computer that you're particularly proud of, a Wacom Mobile Studio Pro might be your best option. Or if you want to do things like ZBrush and 3D programs or use their 3D camera, but is anyone doing 3D work only on a Mobile Studio Pro? The amount of people who are going to be doing 3D work on the go, like in a plane or in a park or something like that, seems very small to me. If you're doing 3D work, I'm guessing you're at a studio, and if you're at a studio, why not build a killer machine to process all that modeling and rendering, because I don't think that the Mobile Studio Pro is an end solution for modeling, and definitely I don't think it's ideal for rendering video. If the goal is to be mobile, as is in the name, and work on the go, then the best possible combination, in my opinion, is to get an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil and a laptop or a MacBook or something to complement it. You could bust out the iPad, whether it be on a plane or a bus or a coffee shop, and no one's going to look at you funny. It's not going to take up that much space. It's going to last for a very long time, and it's not going to get hot on your lap or anything like that. You can also export pretty much everything that you'd be working on to your Office machine later on, with the exception of 3D. So all of this goes out the window for 3D. If you're working on 3D, ignore everything I've said in the past 10 minutes. Sorry about that. But for everything else, an iPad with an Apple Pencil and a personal computer is the perfect combination. Alright, that's all I got. Hopefully you found this video informative and enjoyable, and be sure to follow us for future posts and videos. I'll see you later.